Hello friends, today we are talking about Clockwinders by Jamal Mad J. Brown. This is a new Fate World adventure we have just released on Roll20, and I am very excited about it. The Clockwinders itself, a lot of the worlds and adventures include like, here's a world with an adventure that you could play in that world, but Clockwinders itself includes a whole campaign of world-shaking scope. The world exists. Cadvini exists in a tidally locked world. One side is covered in shadow, the other side is burned up ash, and it's only the Clockwinders who maintain this ancient artifact that can keep the world running. And you play those Clockwinders. So let's dive in and see what we've got. The bundle, as usual, contains both the module and the art pack. This art pack by Elisa Cella is just some of her work has always been amazing, but there are just some absolutely gorgeous characters and objects, and just all of the characters here are just beautiful, and they're included in the module, but also by having the art pack you can use them anywhere you like. Let's dive into the module itself. So when you come to the module, it looks like all the rest of ours, in that you have a start page, and this tells you, gives players the first steps to take, gives the GM the first steps to take, and has tokens for the sample PCs right there, Beryl, Una, Tack, and Lily. It has Fate tokens, but it also includes the deck of Fate, because Clockwinders does three things that I think really speeds up gameplay and adds a different dynamic that you might not have in other Fate games. One of them uses the deck of Fate for resolution. There's an 81 card deck that has all the possible outcomes for rolling dice, but it also like flavors those outcomes. So I will just drag a card out here, and you'll see this is 0, which it doesn't it's the most average result, but it also has a few text things, first steps and by the numbers, and then there's also like a sun and moon configuration of these cards. So you can just use results, but also if you're looking for inspiration, each of these cards has little text inspirations, little moon signs, sun signs, fun things that can make the rolling process a richer rolling process. The second thing that it does, which speeds up character creation, is it uses modes. So if we look at one of the characters, let's look at Una here. She has the mode of Clockwinder, Explorer, and Chronicler. And then within those has focused on Investigate and specialized in Lore and Notice. So modes is something that we saw with Atomic Robo. Essentially, it's you pick kind of clumps of skills. So Clockwinders get automatically Crafts, Investigate, Lore, Notice, and Will. And so Una, for instance, has Investigate at Fair +2 because she's a Clockwinder, and then gets a bonus to it because that's focused. And you can see it down here how it puts it there at +3. And similarly, because she's specialized in lore and crafts, she has those at higher levels as well. So this makes it so that you just pick a couple modes for your character, and then a few focuses and specializations, and boom, that's done. The other thing, and the third thing that it does to speed up play, is that the characters have conditions rather than consequences. So when you would take stress, instead of taking 2 stress, for instance, you can mark that you are now hungry. Some of the consequences are fleeting, meaning they go away quickly. Some of them are sticky, meaning they take a little bit longer, and some of them are lasting, meaning that a lot of work needs to be done to remove those conditions. And then they have multiple times they can be checked, so you can be discouraged twice, for instance. So this is just those are all part of the Fate system, but they're cool things that Jay opted to use to make the characters quicker to build, and also to make play faster, and to encourage the kind of consequences, because ultimately conditions are just specific consequences, but to encourage the kind of consequences that he wanted to see in the game. So let's look a little bit more into what's inside Clockwinders. After the first page, we get to a rules and tokens page, if you've seen this, if you've seen me do these before, then at this point you're pretty familiar with this. It includes a few tokens as well as the Fate Ladder bookmark. But we also have a bunch of locations where let's pick up one that is a little bigger. So for instance, here in the Aether Swamps, we have this map, and then all of these tokens here, which you can see are sort of faded. That's because they're sitting on the GM layer. They're hidden from the players until the GM makes them visible. So if we go to the GM layer, you can click on one of these, right click, go to layer, move it to the token layer, and now it's going to be visible to the players. And so these are some of the characters, NPCs, creatures, etc. that are framed as part of this scene. So it's a beautiful backdrop, but it's also a place where we have tokens sort of at the ready. And most of these pages are like this. They'll have a background. I just love this clock, gears and gears. Elisa's work here is just so gorgeous. Here's another one where we have this like giant automaton sunken in the swamp, and all of the characters in the GM layer here and ready to switch to token layer as soon as you want to reveal them. Then of course we have all of the handouts. Sophie has gone through and taken every single piece of the Fate world and put it into these handouts. So the first README gives you just a heads up of what's included. It's largely what I'm doing right now. But then when we start with the contents and all of the other handouts are cross-linked, so they link to one another, and they have all of the chapters of the book. So when we go to the introduction, we get the story of a tidally locked clock world that is wondrous and baroque. Perpetual sunfire rains down upon half the world. Seas of white ash. Love it. I love it. I love it. Jay's writing is so good. So all of the chapters from the book are here as handouts, and again, they're all cross-linked, so you can see, you can bounce between all of them. You'll notice that some of these over on the right are available for everyone because they're part of the world itself, but there's a whole lot of the actual big meta story that is wrapped around the Clockwinders world, and all of these handouts are GM only because they are part of that adventure. Scrolling down a bit, we get a little bit more about the Deck of Fate. This is a handout that sort of tells you how the Deck of Fate works, what's in it, describes all of those sort of additional rich rolling elements that I talked about, and then we have all of the GM characters that we saw their tokens sort of placed in different pages. Lots and lots of characters. Sophie has done a lot to put all these characters, put their stats and their bio and info with their image on there, and if you grab one of them and drag it onto the map, you'll get the token associated with it automatically. And there's also the Fate Roll by token. Now this is in the GM layer, so it's not quite as visible. Let's drop that into the token layer. There we go. And there's the Tango and everything associated with them. So pretty cool stuff right there. And then finally we have the all of the pre-generated characters, Beryl, Lily, Tak, and Una. So you can just grab one of those and immediately start playing. If we look into our macros, we have our typical Fate Roll by token and player Fate Roll. Now, here's something that I only discovered later after we developed a lot of these, which is that this token is going to be available to the GM, and if you click in bar, you're going to see it down here, and that lets you roll by, you click on a particular token, click on the macro, and it'll roll for that token. Very cool. But it is not visible to players automatically, and the reason why is that if you scroll down, there's an option to say who it's visible to. And so if you want to make this visible to all players, go ahead and say all players right there, and then everyone can see it in their bar. The other thing is that the /EMAS does not work for players. So if you want to make this available to players, just delete the last two letters, make it /EM, and then anyone can use that. So little tidbits. The macros work as is, but if you want to share them with the players, which I think is super cool, those are 2 steps to make that work. And as we mentioned, the decks include the Fate Dice deck, which is visible here, the Fate Points deck, but also there's the Arcana deck, which we have here. And it has some of the beautiful Fate Accelerated Arcana, the Core Arcana deck. Sorry, that was the Fate Accelerated Arcana deck. Here's the Fate Core deck. I really need to remember to get back into the objects and tokens layer so that these things are more visible. Let's do that now so that I stop dragging stuff on to the board in the GM layer. There we go. That's nice and clear. Looks really good. So those are part of the Fate deck, so they're included in here. And yeah, we hope that you use those and enjoy the Arcana. And then also we have a background token. So if you put the little token icon, again, this is meant to be sized for 1920 by 1080, but these are some gorgeous backgrounds. Right click on them, choose multi-sided, say choose side. You've got the option, all this wonderful work by Lisa Jella, and you see we have both of these gorgeous backgrounds that you can drop into any page yourself. And I recommend resizing to 1920 by 1080, but they'll work in lots of different dimensions as well. So that is the Fate World Clockwinders by Mad J. Brown. It is a ton of fun. It's a whole campaign rolled up into one, and it's available now on Roll20. I hope you enjoy it, and please let us know what you think.